stay strong and fake a smile until I look away.
Leave the world to Kim Taehyung, because every time he makes even the slightest change, the internet shakes like a bolt of lightning. No other figure in the industry can send the online world into chaos simply by changing his hair highlights, except him. And that's exactly what happened that historic night at Stanford, when the Arirang World Tour revealed something no one expected. I still remember how utterly transfixed I was when I first saw footage from that concert. On May 17th, as the stadium lights slowly dimmed, the stage spotlight cut through the darkness, and the sound of cheers pierced the air, Taehyung emerged. But this time, something was different. Not just different, it was shocking. The 1995-born superstar, the icon with the blonde highlights that once defined his era, suddenly appeared with much darker hair. His golden highlights were gone, replaced by a deep color that transformed his entire aura. Everyone was silent for a few seconds before the cheers erupted again. The mysterious aura was immediately felt even from the camera, dozens of meters away. And honestly, I think Taehyung's decision to go back to his natural hair color was a stroke of genius. Just imagine, one simple change elevated his visuals to the point where his handsomeness felt unreal. Without effort, without gimmicks, without drama, his physical beauty became even more powerful and captivating. That night, I could feel, even through the screen, that he wasn't just performing. He was commanding the atmosphere of the entire stadium. Of course, that immediately raised one big question. What made Taehyung suddenly change his hairstyle in the middle of such a busy world tour schedule? It turned out to be quite an interesting answer. His new look wasn't just an aesthetic change. It was part of a stage concept designed to create the charismatic and intense aura he wanted to convey that night. And as soon as he grabbed his iconic red microphone, everything just came together. The all-black outfit, the silver chain necklace, the dramatic red lighting, and the dark hair that fell naturally across his forehead. As the camera landed on that first close-up, the world stopped. That piercing gaze, that perfect jawline, that facial expression that changed in a matter of seconds. Seriously, it looked like a scene from a blockbuster movie, not a concert. But beneath all those killer visuals, there was one small moment that became the emotional center of the night. A moment that sent shivers down my spine and those of thousands of others. In the middle of his solo performance, as the music swelled amidst the cheers of the audience, Taehyung suddenly pulled his backup dancers close. It wasn't a gimmick, it wasn't a rigid, planned choreography. It was the natural calling of a performer who values his team like family. He created a small, warm moment, as if a halo of light were in the center of the giant stage. The dancers responded with smiles, their energy shifting instantly. The brief interaction was especially striking because it occurred amidst such a massive, explosive stage production. Imagine fireworks shooting high, open flames blazing from both sides of the stage, thick smoke billowing, strobe lights dancing wildly in the air. But still, what was most touching was this small, sincere moment between Taehyung and his team. The audience felt it. I felt it. The world felt it. It wasn't long before the video clip of that moment exploded on social media. Timelines were filled with comments filled with admiration and emotion, calling the interaction a perfect blend of charisma and tenderness. Many said that only Taehyung could combine an aggressive stage concept with such sweet, heartwarming interactions in one breath. And of course, the debate about his hair color also erupted. Some said they missed his blonde highlights, but most were truly in love with the dark hair that made him look more mature, more elegant, and more Taehyung than ever. These discussions only proved one thing. Kim Taehyung's charm is always dynamic, always changing, and always fun to talk about. Even critics agreed that his performance at Stanford was one of the best visual nights of his solo career. The combination of the massive stage production, the killer stare, the lively expressions, and the heartfelt moments between the dancers made the concert truly perfect. It's no exaggeration to say that many are calling it one of the highlights of the Arirang tour era. And just when everyone thought the night had reached its emotional peak, something even bigger was waiting. After Taehyung bowed respectfully and the stage lights slowly dimmed, the atmosphere at Stanford Stadium descended into a strange silence. A silence that wasn't necessarily empty, but rather a silence filled with anticipation. Everyone knew the concert couldn't just end like that. The energy in the air felt like a lingering candle. Suddenly, the giant LED screen behind the stage lit up again, displaying a black and white visual with a vintage texture reminiscent of an old-school documentary. And among the silhouettes, a figure emerged that stunned everyone. Taehyung, in a look never before seen. Dark hair, a piercing gaze, and a modern take on traditional attire. The visual looked like a picture of the past and the future colliding in one perfect frame. The audience gasped. Is this a teaser for a new era? Is this a secret project? What's the meaning of this visual coming after the concert? Question after question swirled through the audience's heads. And honestly, I felt the same way. Because it was as if the night wasn't over. There was still something he wanted to show, something he hadn't had the chance to say on stage. And sure enough, it was. As the black and white visuals slowly faded, a very familiar voice murmured. Taehyung's voice. Soft, low, and full of emotional depth. He didn't scream. He didn't deliver a powerful speech like other artists. He simply said softly, almost a whisper, "This is just the beginning." A simple sentence that immediately electrified the entire stadium. It was like a secret code, a signal that the grand concert was just a gateway to something bigger, bolder, and more personal. Fans immediately clutched their chests, some even shedding tears involuntarily. And what's so interesting, the sentence didn't just appear out of nowhere. It connected directly to the previous moments, his hair change, his warm interactions with the dancers, the combination of intense, dark visuals, and incredible stage presence, all like a puzzle that slowly led to the hidden message he wanted to convey. That Taehyung was entering a new chapter. After those words echoed, ambient music began to play, soft yet tense. The LED screens flashed glimpses of visual fragments, falling arrang flowers, her silhouette walking alone down a dark corridor, her gaze looking back as if inviting the audience to follow her. And within seconds, the visuals were gone, leaving the stadium in a state of intoxicated disbelief. A few seconds later, the stadium lights came back on, but the atmosphere was different. The audience was still standing, many still standing. They weren't just leaving a concert. They were leaving an emotional experience that was both touching and confusing at the same time. And here's the most interesting part. Everything that had happened before suddenly made sense. Her dark hair change wasn't just an aesthetic choice. Her gentle interactions on stage weren't just spontaneous. Her intense visuals and mysterious aura weren't just a tour concept. It was a transition into a new era she wanted to open. And if you paid close attention, even her small gestures throughout the concert gave away clues. The way she stared at the camera for longer than usual. The way he let his hair fall over his face gave him a more mature and introspective impression. The way he treated the stage as if it wasn't just a performance space, but a space to tell stories. It was all part of a larger narrative he was quietly constructing. As the crowd began to exit the stadium, global media outlets began to write urgent reports. Headlines erupted like exploding fireworks. Taehyung signals a new era at Stanford. Mysterious black and white visuals shock the world. Arrang concert at Stanford marks the beginning of a new chapter for Taehyung. It wasn't just a concert. It wasn't just history. It was a declaration. A declaration that Kim Taehyung, with his dark hair now a new symbol, was moving towards something far greater than just his stage presence. And I knew, this was just the beginning of a long story that would shake the world.